Hello folks, it's Monday and that means it's another episode of What Are You Doing? The show that does not focus on what the host is doing and making, but focuses on what you are doing and making. And we actually had a lot of entries this week, a lot of new people, so let's just get right into it, okay? The first person I believe is new for the first time, so I want to welcome Ray King. Ray sent in a photo here of a cedar chest, and he said the front, it has poplar on it, and he's going to do an inlay of a flower and probably some hummingbirds, and that'll be interesting to see. I don't know if, Ray, if you're going to draw that on there, if you're going to carve it on by hand or CNC or something of the sort. So I guess we'll just have to wait and find out what you have in mind for the project. But thank you very much for sending your photo in, and welcome to the show. Peter James. Now, you're probably familiar with Peter James. He's the fellow who builds the mandolins, teaches students how to build them, and he also plays the song at the end of the show for us. And he sent in this week the first project he did in school, and it looks to be like candle holders and a light switch cover. And it really amazes me that the schools today are not encouraging young folks to get into woodworking. There are so many health benefits, truly, to woodworking. In fact, it got me thinking, I'm going to be working on a blog, and probably I'll do a just plain board video of the health benefits, I believe, that are associated with doing woodworking. And Peter wasn't the only one this week to send in some photos of the stuff that he did way back when he was young. Several others sent stuff in too. And so, again, thanks for sending your photos in, but I'm amazed how young kids today are not exposed to woodworking until so much later in their life. So hopefully, a show like this, people like you all, can help spread the word and get young kids involved. Thanks, Peter. Kevin Enlow. Now, Kevin's been making these cornhole games for a customer. Last week, he had the color on it, the stain, but had to put the poly on. The poly's all done. It's all finished. It's going to the customer. I think it looks great. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised, Kevin, if your customers' neighbors saw it, ask them where they got it, and then boom, you're going to have some more business. So I've always said it before, it's wonderful to do woodworking. It's even better to get paid to do it. So great job, Kevin. Ibrahim Hashimi. Ibrahim made this cherry table for his 2-year-old daughter. And although at 2 years old, I'm sure the young gal probably can't appreciate it, but on the bottom he did sign it and dedicate it, a little note to his daughter. And of course, as she grows up, that is going to be a most cherished cherry table. And I think that this is, again, a fantastic thing. Us woodworkers, we have the ability to make just about anything. You can make these gifts and give them the ones you love. It means so much more than just going to a store or getting online, clicking on something, and it's drop shipped to your house, and then you give it to people. The thought of the blood, sweat, and tears, the hours that you spend making something, for that one person in mind, your whole thoughts are on them and the project. I really think it's a beautiful thing. But at any rate, Abraham was saying that he made this with mortise and tenon joinery. And you can see the top, he glued it up in several pieces. And he said that gave him some issues. It sounded like he tried to glue up all the boards at once, and then some were misaligned, and there was like a wobble to it. And you've probably heard me mention before that I suggest gluing boards up really like one at a time, and that way you don't have the glue slipping and a misalignment happen. And unfortunately, he said he had to cut it apart again and re-glue it. So sometimes we do take steps back from our mistakes, but look what we learned from it. And I've had viewers email me and say, Chad, you know so much. How do you learn so much? I make so many mistakes. Anyhow, thank you, Abraham, for sending that in. I'm sure your daughter's gonna love it. David Bishop. Now, last week I told you David sent in just a single photo of a wheel. He's going to be making a wooden monster truck, and this week he's cutting out the body. And like I said, I love seeing the progress of it. So I'm curious what the next parts he's going to be making, and I always like to see the project grow. It's funny, I used to have the same excitement when I would be remodeling someone's kitchen. I get the kitchen all gutted and empty, and I will put the floor in first. And I get so excited to see what it looks like with the floor completely done. And I get the floor done, and then I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what it looks like with the cabinets. And I just work myself up into a frenzy over the excitement level of seeing the next thing. And I feel like I'm reliving that same emotion when I'm seeing what you all are building and sending in. So thank you, David. Another new person, and this fella is coming from Germany, Nick Wagner. Nick made this box for a friend of his that likes to collect watches, and I think he said she's coming up on her 40th birthday. So he made this out of cherry, and the top is wenge, and he's got the dovetails on it and everything. And I especially want to thank Nick for sending this in, because so many times I kind of forget how far this show really reaches out to people. Now, it's not a big show. I mean, you can look at the numbers down below. There aren't a whole lot of people watching this. But I am still surprised that, Germany, this week alone, I get, between the emails and the photos, we've had Germany, always have stuff coming in from Ireland and Australia and the UK, but I had an email this week from Singapore, I had an email this week from Lebanon, so thank you all very much. It's wonderful to read your emails and see your projects. Hal Songer. I have to apologize to Hal. I think last week I said his last name was Singer. And for me, I have a customer, and I was dealing with last week, his name is Ronnie Singer. And just being stupid, I made the mistake of calling Hal Singer instead of Songer. So I'm sorry, Hal. But Hal works with the Boy Scouts, and at the camp, he said they always do a camp improvement project. And so last week he sent in a photo. He made a message board for the kids there, and he sent in a photo this week of a project last year they did, which was a swinging bench. And he says it's anytime you walk past it, there's always someone, some kid, some person sitting in that swinging bench. It's used so much, and it's appreciated by the whole camp. I had to laugh that if someone's always in it, they probably had to kick someone out just to send this photo in. But that's what the folks over there at Troop 845 are doing. Woohoo! So thank you, Hal, for sending that photo in. And also, too, Hal sent this in. Something we don't usually see a lot. But I did an episode on talking about rabbit planes, and I had mentioned how I love my Stanley 78 rabbit plane. And from that, he decided to get one for his own collection. He got online, found it for $30, with everything. I mean, with the fence and the depth stop, and which I can never find it with all those pieces. Cleaned it all up, and he's got it razor sharp, and he's using it, and he loves it. So, as most of you guys know, I love hand planes. I've got well over 200 in my collection now. So I don't know. That's my love, my passion, and so I'm happy to see that Hal is adding that Stanley 78 to his collection. So thank you. So page one is done. Make sure I got everyone on there. Moving on. Mr. Moe. Yes, Mr. Moe. He has a couple small things to put in this week. He said that 15 years ago in his house he had a painter, and of course the painter did the job correctly. He removed all the light switches and the outlet plate covers and that to paint around it. But then he lost this one particular light switch cover, which you go, no big deal. I mean, they're 48 cents at a big box store. But this light switch was unique because unlike most light switches that go up and down, his went side to side. And so since the painter lost that, he made one. And I asked him what type of wood it was. He said he wasn't sure, that got it out of pallet wood. And he said it was really hard, though. So by looking at it, it looked like hickory to me. I don't know if they make hickory pallets, but maybe so. Anyhow, it looks neat. I like the color change of the grain pattern there. Mr. Moe also sent in his first project back in school. He actually did this in elementary school, which surprised me. I was exposed to woodworking in the 7th grade. He believes that this project was in the 5th grade, and you can see it's a towel bar, and that was in 1963. So, gosh, I hope some of these schools bring it back. Moving on, Philip Quinn. Now, Philip Quinn, if you guys watch the show on a regular basis, Philip is really into making cutting boards. He's having good success with them. He's been selling them, too. And Philip wrote me in an email and wants to add some tools to his shop. And so I answered those questions. But more importantly, he said that he's ready to step up his game in woodworking. And that's what I love hearing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love all your folks' projects and seeing your stuff. But what I'm really about is trying to get everyone to continue in this. And I don't want you all to get bored with it or stall out on making something. And the only way to do that is to push yourself and try new things. And so Philip said he's ready to do more, and I think that's great. So I really want to encourage him and everyone else. If you do have questions on something, as all means, you can email me. I'll give you that at the end. So Philip, I'm looking for what's next, buddy. Moving on. Let's see, Tom Bertino. Tom made this wraparound desk in his home office there, and those, even though some people might say, oh, that's pretty simple, a desk, going from wall to wall, or if you're doing something from floor to ceiling, can be tricky. So Steve there has, Tom there has it going all the way around, and you can see there's the before photo and then the after photo with all this stuff on it. And I have to laugh because I don't care how big my workbench is, I fill it. At the beginning of the day, I have everything open. And by the end of the day, I probably have like a 2 square area that I'm working in because I just clutter it all up. But at any rate, looks really good there, Tom. Okay, Steve Terry. So Steve picked up this used fireplace mantle, and it was too tall. He had to cut it down. He had to cut it down 8 inches. He said he had to rebuild the columns to do that. his wife wanted the color changed, so they made it darker. And what Steve said was that this project really pushed his abilities. He had to do things that, as he said, took him out of his comfort zone, and he felt it really stepped up his game. I imagine that probably came in with cutting down the columns, but it doesn't matter. This is what I always say. One of the ways that I advanced is customers. In this case, I think Steve's customer was his wife, because she wanted this and wanted it to fit. But for me, my customers, they tell me what they want. It's not my job to talk them into what I can do. It's my job to give them their dream piece. And that sometimes really pushes me. I have to do some homework, some research. I have to practice, experiment, and that really advances me along. And so it seems like in this case, it worked for Steve. Brian Anderson. Brian, I believe, is new to the show, and he's got two projects here. Typically, I like to go with one project, but he had the one that's kind of unique. So it's a set of tables. This was a customer of his. A set of tables made out of some old cabinet doors. The customer liked the doors, wanted them repurposed into something. They came up with the idea of a couple of tables, and you can see it's kind of got like that arch top cabinet door. So I imagine you could probably put the tables together or separate them. Either way, very unique, very different. But what I'm excited for is Brian has to build a farmhouse table, and he's got a photo here of just the very beginning. He has the dimensional lumber that he purchased. That's what he's going to make the table out of. And we're right at the beginning steps with him, so we're going to be able to follow Brian's progress on it. And as I said before, that's very exciting for me. Don Bullock. Now, Don sent in this photo of an ice cream scooper. And, we've featured Don on the show. He's been our spotlight viewer in the past. I regularly email with Don. I enjoy talking with him. And he felt kind of bad. He showed this ice cream scooper, and he said that he hasn't used his lathe in 30 years, just hasn't had a project that's needed it. So he said it was fun for him to use the lathe again. But he was like, Chad, you may not want to put it on the show because it's such a small project. And I told him no. On the contrary, sometimes these small projects are what the viewers need to see. Because many folks watch the show and they get excited. They want to get out in the shop. They want to make something, but they go, I don't have time to build a big farmhouse table. I don't have the money. I don't have the room. I don't have a big shop. And they lose motivation right from the get-go. But when we see something small, like this ice cream scooper, someone can go, you know what? I got a couple hours. I can do that. I'm going out in the shop and I'm going to make that. So Don, thank you. I'm sure every viewer appreciates the projects, no matter how big or small. Milton Thompson. Milton is new, so thank you, Milton. Thanks for joining us here. And he made this rolling butcher block table for the kitchen there. He said the top is made out of various different types of hardwood. Most of the structure is made out of maple. And he said the knife holder and drawer are made out of pecan wood. And I think it looks great. I think it looks really good. I wish my kitchen was actually bigger for my wife to use something like that. I would love for her to have a little island to work on. But I think it looks fantastic. I love the colors and the different woods. And Milton actually said, and so this honestly a little bit surprised me. He said he was a little bit, I don't want to say nervous, but he's never showed his work publicly before. And that, I think, is such an odd thing in this day and age because, everybody's got their phone and they're posting whatever they're doing. And, look, I'm eating a sandwich. We're posting pictures everywhere. And I just want Milton and everyone else to know don't be shy. Don't be intimidated to send your stuff in. That's what this is all about. And I know there's other viewers out there like Milton thinking, oh, my work's not good enough. Chad doesn't want to see it. No, I do. I do want to see it. So thank you, Milton, for doing this, getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. Hopefully you won't be intimidated anymore, because I was looking at your work and it looks really nice. I don't know why anyone would be ashamed of their work. And that's the other thing. I don't care, if someone's judging you because it's not the smoothest finish or it's not the proper height or whatever, then they're just being a snob. Now, constructive criticism is always useful. If you want to get better, it's nice if someone says, oh, that looks great, but next time maybe if you want to, blah, blah, blah. That's always good. But if other people are just looking down on you and it's a contest, forget about it. You're not going to have that on this show. So thank you, Milton. Let's see, page 3. Moving right along. Jeff Burton. Jeff is making a shuffleboard table, and he's using a hollow core door for a closet. And he said as he was sanding it on the edge that he burned through the lamination, and he really got upset. He said he made some new combination of cuss words. I think we've all been in that before. But he viewed this as, and I love this quote, he said, there's no mistakes, just opportunities. And he said that's going to make him put an epoxy granite look top to it. So there you go. I mean, another great thing about woodworking is even though we make mistakes, it pushes us to be creative and come up with ideas. And in this case, I don't think he's ever done the epoxy top before from his email. And it's making him try something new. He's going to experiment. He's going to add to his knowledge and grow in it. So don't be afraid of mistakes. Don't hate yourself for making a mistake. And as Jeff said it, it's just presenting a new opportunity. Great attitude. Andrew Pritchard. Now, Andrew Pritchard. He's been building this cabinet with curved legs and following it for a while. And I'm real glad to see he took a couple weeks off, but he's back. I'm glad to see he's doing it. And he's making this crown molding. It's a build-up crown molding. And I'm not sure if that's going on the cabinet because I didn't see it on his original drawing. Or maybe he's just playing with making some crown molding. Or maybe he's changing his design. That happens too. I do that a lot. I start building a project, especially for a customer, and bam, I get an idea that I think will look better for it. And so I immediately will call the customer and run it by him. At any rate, I don't know where that crown molding is going, but I'm going to stay tuned to hear from you, Andrew, and see what's next on your projects. Kevin Delk. Kevin, good friend of mine. Kevin made this, I think you pronounced it the Gadsden flag. That's what he wrote to me. I always thought it was the Don't Tread on Me flag. That's what I called it. But I did do a quick Google search, and it's named after someone. I probably should have read after I Google searched it. But anyhow, Kevin's made several flags in the past. And Kevin, as you've heard me mention before, he was in the Navy. He served in our military, and so he's a very patriotic person, him and his wife. So he's got these different flags, imagine all over the house. Hope you have some other pictures hanging up in the house there, Kevin, because the flags look pretty big. Anyhow, I can always count on Kevin sending something in each week. Thanks, Kevin. Another good friend of mine, Frank Byers, sent in. Is that what this show's coming to? I have to ask my friends to send photos in. Is it kind of like, Avon, where you go to all your friends and family to sell the makeup or Tupperware to? I don't know. No, Frank, I've known Frank for a long time. And Frank is restoring a garden bench. And he said he's using was it Kumaru wood. I had never heard of that, Kumaru. He said it's more dense than teak. Now, I've worked with teak, and teak is pretty hard and heavy, and it can dull blades if you're doing an excessive amount of woodworking with it. But Frank's going to put that wood on there, and he's going to, the floral design on the back of the bench, he's thinking about accenting that in some different colors. And I thought, that'd be pretty neat to see. So it's nice, once again, taking something that's old and beat up instead of throwing it out, giving it new life. And I guarantee people will want it. Once it puts it out in the yard there, people are going to be probably knocking on his door asking them where to get one. Over in Ireland, Mark Fitzsimons, again, becoming a good friend of mine just through this show. That's what's fantastic for me. You guys get to enjoy the show because of seeing all the different work out there. I get to enjoy the fact of talking with you all. And Mark did this custom kitchen. He did the whole thing himself. Beautiful. But he said it was his toughest customer ever. And when I asked him who, and he told me, I was like, I've had the same customer. It was his wife. And hey, let's face it. I mean, that's what we as husbands are to do, is to make them happy, right? When they want it, we better bring our best game. So he said his wife absolutely does love it. But once again, it just goes to show the different range of woodworkers we have on here. Everyone from doing stuff as a hobby. Mark actually does this as a professional. But I look at that stuff and I get inspired by it. So thanks, Mark. Andy Farmer, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, Andy's over there in the UK. And Andy is making a very simple project for his shop. He's been working on a drill cart. And it's got wheels, like a little mobile base for him. And I was curious if those are going to be drawers in there, or if that's just going to be like some shelving in it. But he's been making it out of used pieces of lumber that he's either come across or has laying around in the shop. And that is the best use for scrap wood. You know, I have tons of scrap wood here, and I don't want to get rid of it. The pieces are either too small to make a complete project out of, or you know, they're too large that I'm not starting a project for it yet. And so I hate getting rid of my scrap wood because they're just odd sizes. I keep telling myself I'm going to be able to use it, but the pile just grows, and then I forget what I have. But at any rate, Andy's been able to make the most and the use out of his. Another new person, Becky Stock. And I have to apologize real quick, Becky. We have a radio DJ here. Her name is Becky Stock. And so when I first saw your name, I thought, the radio celebrity is watching my show? But it doesn't mean I'm not excited for what she sent in. So Becky is making a Morris chair for her husband. I've always loved Morris chairs. I keep saying I'm going to make one myself. They're big, they're comfortable. You can adjust the back to lean down at different slouch angles. And it's like in the arts and craft style, which is one of my favorites. So I've always wanted to make one. And as you can see, she's in the process of making it, and I'm curious to see the next step. And I'm curious to see if her husband likes it in the end. You know, maybe Becky's going to wind up keeping it for herself, and maybe he won't get it. Anyhow, thank you very much, Becky, and welcome to the show. Let's see. Oh, here's, I believe, another new person, Roy Beckner. And Roy, just like Frank, is restoring a garden bench. This one's for his sister-in-law, and he's going to be putting maple on it. And I was teasing with Roy that apparently these manufacturers that are making and selling these benches are not doing a good job, because here's Here's 2 benches in 1 week that different woodworkers got to rebuild because they've gone bad. But Roy said in his email to me, and Roy, I hope this doesn't embarrass you or anything, but he said he's just like a C-level woodworker. And I want to tell Roy and everyone else out there, because as you heard, there's a few other people this week that kind of felt like the projects were too small or too simple or they're not that good. We're not judging. In fact, if anyone uses the term or the expression they're a master woodworker, they're full of crap. There's no such title. It's a made-up, self-appointed title. There are in other trades, like a master plumber and a master craftsman, yes. But there is no such thing as a master woodworker. And I defy anyone to show me in an official book a description of it, because I'm telling you, it's made up. And I even went to my mentors, Dennis and Les. They totally agree with me. There's no such title. But what annoys me about it is when we introduce ourselves with a title like that, it's like we got an ego or an attitude. There should not be any of that as far as I'm concerned, in woodworking. We're all here to encourage and inspire and to learn from each other. I used to have customers that would introduce me to either family members or their neighbor, and they would call me a master woodworker, and I'd stop them right there, and I would just say, nope, I'm a skilled woodworker. So, and when I say skilled, because I feel I've got my basics down, I'm pretty good, but I'm always learning. I'm never done learning. So please, folks, let's not feel bad about where we are on this. We're all on the same road, the same journey of woodworking, and we're here to help each other along, okay? So thank you, Roy, for sending in your work. Now this next person, Holly Smith, she's also new. I want to apologize to Holly because I believe she sent her photos to me through Facebook, and I think I forgot to look last week, because I typically ask people to send it to me through the email. But she made this maple tool chest, and it has no nails, no screws in it, and it was her first dovetail project. And as you know, we just finished up that series on dovetails. I did a 4-part video series on it. I don't know if you watched that, Holly, or not, but it doesn't look like she needs to, because the dovetails look great. But thank you, Holly, for sending in your photos, and welcome to the show. Hope to see more work from you. And if you would like to be on the show, you can send your photos to stantonfinefurniture@gmail.com, or just simply woodworking questions. You don't have to send in photos. If you're working on something or have interest in something, you have a question, go ahead and email me there. I will be happy to help you. And I have one last thing I have to say. Jeff Burton, he sent in some emails to me, and I tried to reply to the address, and the address just bounced back. So Jeff, if you're watching, I'm not ignoring your emails. Could you just try me on a different email address, see if that works. Okay, so that was this week. We'll see next week what you guys have sent in. On Wednesday, I'll talk to you what I've been doing in the shop this week, answer some email questions. I think you'll be interested in some of these that we got coming up. And, of course, the little segment of Should You Own It? It's tool suggestions from me to you that you should probably have in your collection. But at any rate, as always, thank you for watching. Please share this video with others. Let's get them to like and subscribe and join and share in the woodworking world and community that we have here. So until next time, keep on dancing.